that I see every day is every student feels comfortable in her class. They feel comfortable to be themselves. And she really fosters their individuality and choice. And she has some incredible reward systems. So really makes them feel like a valued part of their community in their classroom. So Kayla LaRosa is our Teacher of the Year. And then I want to invite up Ms. Erica Hernandez. Erica is a paraprofessional with us at the junior high, and she is the epitome of hard work. You can always find Erica moving quickly across campus. She's a part of many classrooms helping our special ed students. And so she's constantly trucking across campus and making sure that students are where they need to be. She is a very active part of the classroom. So if you were to watch her in class, she's not sitting back and watching the teacher. She's very much up and working with every student and really adamant about learning the curriculum in every class and being able to help students at the junior high level with their curriculum. So that's very admirable. Yeah. I really appreciate that from Erica. I would say she goes above and beyond. So last year we had an influx of students who did not speak English that we weren't prepared for. And Erica took it upon herself to really help those students outside of her special education caseload of students, but help those students with translation and feeling comfortable in their classrooms. And she came to me and asked if that was okay because she said that was once her and she really resonates with those students. And so I really, really took that to heart and appreciated that. And lastly, she's a master party planner. We had 3 babies and 1 wedding last year on our campus, and every time there's something to celebrate, Erica is the one that helps coordinate the potluck, incredible food. She decorates the whole staff room and really makes it feel like we are celebrating whatever is going on at our school. So she's a huge part of our staff, and our community really, really enjoys her and appreciates all the hard work you put in with students and staff. Thank you.
Very nice.
Thank you for the warm welcome earlier. I'd like to invite up Bernadette Calhoun first. Thank you. So though new to the school, I know having been in Bernadette's room and having worked alongside her that she's deeply invested in 2 things. That is both the rigor that she brings to the classes that she's teaching this year, including new ones that she's designed, such as Principles of Engineering, and relationships with students. Watching the way she works alongside students throughout the school, both in her classroom and outside, is inspiring. So for our Teacher of the Year, Certificated Teacher of the Year, thank you so much for everything you bring to our school. Yeah, absolutely. And Espy Nunez, I don't think Espy is here tonight. I've had the pleasure of working with Espy only for 3 weeks, but I can tell you we meet daily and multiple times a day. She's deeply invested in the Healdsburg community, has relationships with all of our families, and works incredibly hard to make sure that we're bridging whatever gaps exist between our school and the families that are here in Healdsburg. We're working right now on our ELAC meetings and making sure that we are working alongside our families to provide them with what they need. And I know SB is deeply committed to the work that we do at the high school. So congratulations to her.
And next, we're going to have Leanne Bozon, our Food Services Director, come up and talk about our district-wide classified Employee of the Year, Lucinda Aguilar.
Good evening.
Good evening.
So I was really excited when we got to nominate Lucinda. We both started about the same time, so we've had this connection because we've been here at the same time. And she has really taken that to heart. And I have learned since day one, she is completely committed to her job. She has an extreme heart. I have thrown many bones to her, and she takes all of them. And I'm just astounded with her wanting to do more and be better at her job. Her positivity is, she puts me into positive mood every day. When I call, if I don't call her, which this morning I had not called her by 7, I have a message on my phone saying, "Where are you?" And so, because she gets concerned about me, and so I called her and I said, sorry, and a little later this morning. but I check in every day. She's constantly concerned for the kids, making sure they're getting the right meals and that they're getting through the line and that everything runs smoothly and that we are putting our best foot forward. She decorates her window for the kids, total engagement, and I've just been completely astounded by everything that she does for the district. And so she started in the high school a couple years ago, and then we moved over to HES 2.5 years ago with the change of some staff. And she's just really taken a hold of her job and taken ownership of her site and has made it, I can't move her because HES won't let her go. so very, very privileged to have her.
Okay, well, everything's going to be boring after that. That was wonderful. Was there? Oh. Okay.
No
All right.
pressure on recamp.
Okay, so celebrating our successes, Summer 2024 Read Camp.
All right, I'm going to make my stuff short and sweet because these folks have been working really hard to put together a presentation, and there's lots here to cover. I just want to thank everybody that's here, Greta, our students, staff from Bishop's Ranch. We've got a representative here. Thank you very much. Couple things. Greta and I were trying to figure out kind of what year we're in, and we thought we were maybe at about 10, but because of the COVID slowdown, we're not quite there. But we're both remarking on how well things are working, and it feels like it's been a decade because they're just nailing it and upping the quality of the content and the partnerships. And you'll see here tonight some really cool new things that are happening with our young people, gaining some leadership skills and serving as counselors and whatnot. So 2 weeks this year. This was the first time we had students, be able to go, and thank you. This is all paid for through grants the Bishop's Ranch raises. Our donation from the district is a little bit of time. Amazing Greta, which, she does out of the kindness of her heart.
The fun that I have at camp.
Yeah, and bus. We provide the bus, but other than that, this is fully paid for through donations. So students could go for 1 or 2 weeks. They could go for the first week or both or just the other. So thank you very much. I'm going to let you guys take it away. The clicker's right here.
Awesome. You're the clicker. Hi, everyone. I'm really excited to be here with these amazing students. I want to introduce everybody first so that I don't trip over myself. First, Alexa Cervantes. Hello. And Cristina Lopez.
Hi.
And Cristina's brother, Gio Lopez.
Good evening.
Good evening.
And our camp director, Ellie McLean.
Hello.
Great. Hi. So we put together a little slideshow here. We're not going to talk a lot. There will be some comments. We're all going to be working on this together. We'll be stepping in and out. But I do want to share to begin with that most of you who know me know that I'm never satisfied. Doesn't matter how good something is. I just want it to be better. And
we love that about you.
Thank you, Araceli. I don't really love it about myself because it makes people annoyed with me.
We love
it's
that
true.
about you.
However, I said this to Erin. I said this to Ellie. I said this to the counselors. This was the year that it all happened. Read Camp was exactly what we at the district, what Reverend Pat Moore in her vision, and what all the counselors and the leadership wanted. We hit it. Why? It's a beautiful place. It's an amazingly beautiful place that has awesome resources. But more than anything else, we had extraordinary people working at the camp this year. Just extraordinary, including these 2 superstars, Alexa and Gio. So let's do Read Camp by the numbers. Summer number 7, 2 weeks this year, 65 campers, 10 kitchen staff, 17 counselors, 2 lifeguards, 3 lifeguards in training, 2 volunteers, $64,000 in partnership funds. That's a lot. Ellie, how many total, thank you. I can't remember how many total people from Healdsburg. How many students? Did we have 7 total? We had 3 returning Reed campers as counselors. How many more did we have?
I think so. I hired Alexa, Gio, then we had Eva, Ashley, Amelia, Jasmine, Karin, and Bailey. So that's 8.
Wow.
So we had
¿Quién más?
and
Oh,
Yeshua.
Yeshua. So we had 9?
We had
We
9.
had 9
Healdsburg High.
High students, which is
Wow.
pretty awesome,
That is
right?
3 of which were
Reed camp,
returning. They were Reed campers, and now came back to be my wonderful staff.
which is
Very
pretty awesome.
exciting.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Okay, click away, Ellie. Clickety, clickety. I want to remember the founder of Reed Camp, Reverend Pat Moore, who actually lives in Alaska now. She's retired, but she came back to visit this year, and it was really super exciting because I just was able to say to her, Pat, we did it. We did it. Camp director, Ellie, yoo-hoo! Ellie's amazing, and she puts up with my constant texts, emails, calls, and drop-bys. Caitlin, hospitality director, also excellent, and Aaron Wright, fully backing the idea of the program. He got me and Bosco as volunteers. And then this year, we totally revamped the reading rotations. And I pulled in our own Diego Gonzalez, 2 counselors that grew up at camps at the ranch, Liam Goff, who is a teacher and just got his degree in curriculum and instruction, and he's in DC. James Goff just graduated from college, and me. Click. I talk about the reading rotations.
All right, so during the duration of the camp, there was a total of 4 reading rotations. And in this image that you see of me with a book, I was doing the read out loud book tasting, in which Greta chose 3 amazing authors, and each, I think, like Monday through Wednesday, we would like sample one of those authors that Greta chose, and in the end, like at Thursday or Friday, we would ask the kids to vote on which author they want to read next, if those same kids are coming back for the second week. And for Readers Theater, it's just pretty much kind of renditions of The Big Bad Wolf, I think. There's a play called The Weather, and I think something about King Arthur. And poetry read out loud, it was led by Diego, as mentioned by Greta, and it was pretty much where Diego told the kids about poetry and a simple introduction to poetry, and get their minds going. And at times, Diego would mention some Spanish poets, some from Argentina, some from Spain, and give them an example. And Mexico, and give them some examples of what poetry is like in a different language, and some with like rhythm or no rhythm. And nature nonfiction, it was kind of showing kids of the true aspects of Mother Nature, and go in hikes and show kind of like bones and like leaves and other cool stuff, and dangerous stuff like poison ivy and what to look out for.
We won't talk about that.
But yeah, that's a sample of what we did.
Great, thank you.
Okay, we're going to run quickly through and see some slides of the 4 reading rotations. Here we've got our own Diego Gonzalez, poetry, read it, write it, recite it. Next. Read out loud book tasting. Oh my gosh, I had so much fun with this. Every other year, I had worked really hard on choosing just the right book. And this year I was like, what the heck? These kids can choose their own book. So we did a book tasting. And I did the first week to get it rolling and started. And then Gio and Chloe took over and did a tremendous job. I could completely step back and just be like, okay, run with it. Readers Theater with Liam Goff and also Alex and Ashley. I do want to brag that Liam, who's an incredible theater guru guy, also wrote 2 plays for us. So we used 4 plays from Benchmark, and then while Liam wasn't with us the first week and the second week, Liam brought in his own creativity and plays that he created for us. One was based on Alice in Wonderland, and the other one was an Aztec folktale.
That's awesome.
You want to pipe in? Yeah.
I'd love to pipe in really quickly. Just a note about I'm Ellie, the camp director. Nice to see all of you. I think Read Camp is so wonderful and special and important for all the reasons you're going to see in this slideshow. But this wonderful gal in the bunny ears and the yellow jacket, I believe Jimena's, like before camp started, Greta got a whole bunch of emails from Jimena's mom saying like, you know, this is Jimena, she's excited to come to camp, but she is very socially anxious, so please don't put her in these kinds of situations, blah, blah, blah.
No reading allowed.
No reading allowed, not speaking up in front of others. Like, she's going to have a good time at camp, but please don't put her in those spaces. She's not ready for it. She's not comfortable. And this is the second week of camp this photo is taken, and I think she was the rabbit in Alice in Wonderland. Like, she was, there was no trace of this student and child that this parent had described and really tried to set up well for camp, but in this space and this environment that my wonderful staff created for our kids, she felt comfortable and able to like be herself and stand up and read into the mic. So that was like a beautiful, special thing to see. And she's not the only student or kid that like that happens to at camp, but I thought because she's in this photo, it was a great time to just mention it to all of you of like, yes, both it's beautiful and wonderful to get these kids reading and excited about literacy. Camp is also a beautiful space that allows them to forge new connections, find new versions of themselves. And I think that's essential when we're talking about camp.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Nature and Nonfiction with James Goff. James just wrote this beautiful curriculum for us that could be a whole year of exploration. We talked about local Native American tribes. They put together an elk skeleton. They went on nature walks. Just really an extraordinarily focused young person who loves to teach. Okay, so reading rotations by the numbers, 4 reading rotations, 45-minute rotations, 3 authors, 7 books, 13 poets, 26 poems, 6 plays, 2 original plays written for read, 1 skeleton, 8 short hikes, and 4 noticed nature sharing box. That's a lot. Okay. Journals. So this is my big push. All Read campers use journals during all reading rotations. I really into the kids being very active listeners and not just sitting there, but using those journals, writing things, drawing things, and most of the kids really filled their journals. So the journals were a big success. You want to do fun at camp?
Okay. So for fun at camp, we did like a bunch of different things. So we had like arts and crafts, and then so those were chill workshops, and we had like the active ones. We had for chill, we had like a bunch of tie-dye and like card games, and they would have like chances to do whatever they wanted, so like write poems or make bracelets. And then active, there were like a lot of different games, which were like volleyball or gaga ball and just a bunch of different things. And then like there was a bunch of campfire. A lot of the kids really like campfire. It's like a very like everybody's in it, and it's just like a very enjoyable time. And then the ranch has like a lot of yummy meals, and like it's really healthy. So a lot of the kids that stayed there really enjoyed them. And like all the kids made new friends because you get to see people who have the same interests as you. So yeah.
Let's see some of these fun large group games. So much fun. Pool time. Oh, the pool wasn't popular at all. It's so sad how nobody wants to swim. So boring. Yeah. Campfire songs and poems, really amazing. The kids did a lot of these really great songs, but what impressed me the most was how many of our campers wanted to read the poems that they wrote in Diego's workshop reading rotation at the campfire, which was really, really cool.
I keep coming back over here to add things, but in Greta's talked about this is 7th year of Read Camp and feeling like maybe this is the best one we've done yet.
No, maybe.
It was the best one we've done yet. That this space that campers and staff created together of like campfire fun, but reading their poems aloud, like that was something that would never have happened at previous years of Read Camp. That kids were like fine to participate in the reading activities and they'd get that done, but then it was pool time and singing time and games time. But like to see their engagement and also to see them share and be a little vulnerable and reading poems about identity and friendships and emotions was really special and important and amazing, a beautiful, amazing thing that came out of camp.
Absolutely. And then we had some fun crafts up in the casita. We had some painting. We had a lot of eating, a lot of lanyards, and a lot of necklaces. Who wants to talk about cookies? Do you want to talk about cookies?
The cookies were so big and
How big were the cookies? Can you show us with your hand how big the cookies are?
that big. We would have them after we eat lunch, and we would have it and to enjoy as a dessert.
And what was your favorite cookie?
My favorite cookie was the sugar cookie.
Oh, the sugar cookie.
My favorite cookie is the chocolate chip cookie. What about you?
Me too. Gio, favorite cookie? Oh, yeah. Ellie, favorite cookie? Yeah, okay.
With salt on top. Here is a poem that Nevaeh wrote that it's very E.E. Cummings to me. Tears are blue, but how could you know tears go down, but your smile goes the other way? Never put that smile upside down. I thought that was really a fun one. Some theater. Look at these costumes. They're so fabulous. Journals, really important. More theater. Oh, look, Alexa, you look adorable in that outfit. I love how the counselors participate. Some more journaling, some more delicious food. There's our reading rotation with one of the books that we read, Lupe Wong Won't Dance. It's a great read. Lanyards and poetry in the hammocks. More theater. Bosco wants to swim, but he may not. Some feathers at Nature Nonfiction. More theater. More theater. Who's that giving out the cookies? And here we have another family group. We have Bailey and her little sister, Scarlett. So Bailey was one of our counselors, and then Scarlett's a camper. Large group games. I mean, the games are outrageously fun. Even I played them. There are two of our favorite counselors. Way back. There are two of our favorite counselors. There's Gio. There's Alexa. Muchísimas gracias y felicidades. I love this picture. This is Reader's Theater in the Swing Pavilion, and everybody's getting ready to read. Gracias. Thank you to HUSD bus driver and friend, Adriana Zavala. We would not have gotten there without Adriana. She's awesome. And finally, our star right here. Many, many thanks y mil gracias to the Bishop's Ranch and to Healdsburg Unified School District from all our Read campers and Read counselors. Read more next year. Do you all have any questions for our counselors or our campers?
And if you have a question.
¿Y una pregunta? Oh my gosh, we must have covered it all.
Well, you've probably answered them all. Did you have fun? Did you learn? Did you learn? What was your favorite thing that you learned?
Read aloud?
Read out loud? Yeah. Excellent.
I liked it because we chose our own books and we would learn about them and write our thoughts about the book and doodle them on our journals.
was the author that you chose and the book that you liked?
It was Anna Mariano.
And do you remember the title of the series she wrote?
No. Love Sugar Magic.
Awesome. Thank you so
Thank you.
Just one more thing. I really want to thank all of you guys, and especially Erin Fender. It's really, really unusual for this type of collaboration to happen. It takes people who really understand that a private organization and a public school can work together and do something really, really special for our community. And it takes somebody who understands that and is open to really unusual ideas, taking that on. Thank you very, very much. And I just think these young people are extraordinary, and I'm not worried about the future at all.
Thank you all so much for coming to talk to us.
Yes, I want to give a special thanks to Greta and to, oh my gosh, remind me your name? Ellie. Greta and Ellie and Erin for putting this on, because it was fabulous. Clearly, it's fabulous. And I'm sure the students wish it was even longer, because it looks like it was just a lot of fun. But I know it's a lot of work. So I just want to thank you all for your leadership in providing this for our students. And Bosco, too. Thank you.
You got to let Bosco swim.
Okay, moving on to 11, approval of consent agenda. The purpose of the consent agenda is to expedite governing board action on all consent agenda items which do not typically require discussion. Items pulled and thereby excluded from the consent agenda will be acted upon individually. Any items can be removed, deleted, or held for discussion from the agenda by the request of a board member. Are there any questions or comments about the consent agenda? Do we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
And I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. Public comments on agenda items?
None.
Okay. Moving on to 12.1, under discussion report action items, student learning, summer school summary.
All right, again, I'm just going to welcome up the people who do the real work. We'll start with summer school elementary principal McGuire. I just want to comment on the numbers here. We have roughly 400 elementary students, 86 of which were provided an additional 3 weeks of full day learning. So we do a full day. And after they leave, Principal McGuire will talk a little bit about this. We have an excellent partnership with the city of Healdsburg. So they can continue their day even in the 3 weeks that they're with us as part of the Expanded Learning Opportunities program, and then throughout the rest of the summer. So it's a nice long continuation with some wonderful academic enrichment, but due to the partnership with the city, we also can provide other expanded learning and resources for our students throughout the summer. So thanks, Erica, for spending your summer there, and lots of Maribel's the summer school principal, or summer school principal, she kind of is summer, she could read it without us. Summer school secretary, there's lots of behind the scenes work that goes to get all the enrollment happen before it all kicks off, and she's kind of managing that while running a school, so thanks.
All right. Hello again. So I won't repeat what Erin talked about, but I'm really excited that once again, we moved to more of this full day program. Students come to school at 8:30 and are out at 2 o'clock. So a little bit earlier than a regular school day, but still a good chunk of time. This year, I didn't say this in here, but this year we were at HES campus because of all the work that was happening at Fitch. So it was the first time that we were, or the first time in my time that we were doing summer school at HES, which was an adjustment, but also fun to be somewhere different. So I decided to we'll kind of go through the slides, and there's just pictures, and I'll just talk a little bit that really the focus of summer school for us and for both campuses in terms of kind of what we talked to the teachers about focusing on is really just, it's 3 weeks of continued learning, right? There's learning loss that we know happens over summer. So it's just continuing opportunities for reading, writing, math, PBL, they all did. Most of the grade levels, the teachers did mini PBL units. The class sizes, all of them had about 16 students in them. That was the max, was 16 students in them. And so here, I've just kind of grabbed some snapshots. Second graders were doing a counting song, and they're moving their bodies, having fun while they're learning. Also in second grade, they learned about different artists and did self-portraits. I love seeing, the art that they did and created. It was all over the window, hanging in the windows of the classroom. Again, that kind of reminds me a little bit of the Read Camp presentation, but being willing to get up. Our fourth graders practiced plays, of readers theater type of plays, and then went into the second grade class. There was a lot of cross grade sharing, I'll say, not necessarily collaboration, but sharing, which you'll see. And so they read their plays in front of the second grade class. The second graders were such a sweet audience and cheering on the fourth graders. As part of their PBL unit, the sixth grade teacher, who was Miss Aghetti, who teaches third grade during the school year, hatched chicks, which is super fun. They hatched over the first couple days, and she had to come in over the weekend, and she cleaned the floor after them. Sorry, Tiffany. I know, yeah. After hours, I took my son to see the chicks. They were super cute, and so the sixth graders who learned all about the process, they had other grade levels come in, meet the chicks, but then they also talked to them about the process of how chicks hatch, and it was really sweet. Here they are presenting to first graders about the incubation process, our sixth graders. In fifth grade, it was the one grade level, and you'll see a slide later that has the teachers, but we hired an outside teacher, not an regular HUSD employee, Miss Schaefer. She was awesome. And so here the fifth graders are working on a virtual escape room. They're working in groups, doing problem solving. Some of them are really tough. I sat with them trying to figure out how to solve the puzzles to get out of the escape room. But again, really collaborative, fun learning. And they, for this teacher that was not an HUSD employee, Mr. Basita gave her textbooks where he had marked kind of the areas where a rising fifth grader would benefit from extra work over the summer or extra learning before going into fifth grade. So she focused on those areas. Oops. The third graders, Miss Alcala did a unit on investigating the past, and they created living history books and time capsules. And you'll see another picture. They learned all about the history of HES campus. There's a later picture of them drawing the front of campus. The fifth grade PBL unit was a unit where they created businesses that were food trucks. They had little models, which you can see on some of the desks, the tables there in the pictures. They had menus, and they presented their businesses to each other. Oh, here they are, the third graders learning again about the history of HES and drawing the front of campus, sketching the school. So again, just want to show what kind of learning happened over summer school, how active it was, and then just take an opportunity to say thank you to the teachers who worked summer school, Miss Coventry, Miss Hernandez, Miss Alcala, etc. Miss Aguayo and Miss Figueroa split it, so they each did a week and a half. Our paraprofessionals, and then I've never thanked before, but that Lucinda who got the district recognition is amazing. It was amazing to be at HES, and so to work with the food service staff there, and then Joanne who came from the high school. So everybody together, it was a wonderful opportunity of extending that learning and school year for students. Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you.
So when I was in fifth grade, which was now 40 years ago, I watched a chick hatch in an incubator. And it's probably one of the only things I remember about fifth grade. So that's awesome. And it was an incredible experience. I remember coming out of the classroom being like, new life, it's a miracle, so that's so cool. Yeah, and you would ask completely different questions while you watch it happen and sort of like you could be more responsible with taking care of the chicks, all those things. So cool.
All right, now for secondary summer school, so we serve our rising first through sixth graders in the elementary program, and then we've got our secondary program really focused on credit recovery for high school. And so this is about making sure that students are going to graduate on time, and also as our principals, Dr. Dennis Perez and Maya Russell Nava will talk about, also providing some opportunities for validation, which means that if they got a grade that they weren't happy about, let's say they got a D and they would need a C, or even better, to apply to a four-year university, we were able to offer some spots for validation. So I'm going to invite the A team up here, and also Matthew Benamelis, who's our superstar math teacher. So they're going to give us a nice show and rundown of what happened for secondary. And this is 6 weeks. So they do 2 3-week sessions. Students have the opportunity to earn up to 10 credits, some even more. I actually got a call from Ms. Russell Nava saying, yeah, we've got kids who are finishing Play-Doh online and they're ready to do a third class. Can we do it? And I said, absolutely. If you're sure they're learning, let's get them earning more credits. So thanks for the flexibility of these folks, and they're going to give us a little taste of what happens in those 6 weeks.
Thank you, Dr. Fender, for the introduction. It's a pleasure. This is my 3rd year coming back, and I can't ask for a better summer position. I'm back with a crew that's been with us for 3 years, and having the same crew for 3 years is really unprecedented. The teachers, the staff, the administration, the clerks, we've all been committed to each other. And we start with a celebration. At the end of the summer session 2, we go out and really talk about kids. We talk about impact. We talk about the enjoyment of being with kids. But now we're going to go right into showing you what we experienced. And if I can do this correctly, there we go. There's myself, and hands down, Maria, we couldn't do this job without her. 2 years in a row. She's incredible. We stole her for the summer again from the junior high school, and she was with me from day one when I was rehired to do the development, all the way to the very end when we were putting this together. And I thank her very much for her work. As I just said, the staff came back again. This is just a thank you for their commitment, their dedication, their expertise, and caring approach to connecting with our students.
Yeah, what I would say is I think the reason why the high school summer school is so successful is because we have had returning staff every year with Mr. Benamelis and Jasmine Medina, who's been doing English from outside of the district. We've been able to keep this cohort together. So instead of having to relearn systems every summer, we have a crew and a community that is ready to support the high schoolers.
And I'm excited to have Matthew next to me, because he is going to tell a story that we started last year with you when we really showed off the math program over summer school. And we're going to get to that in a few moments. And we're going to just let you look at that for a second. This is what Aaron just went through and get right into the story. 89 students went through with us. The change that we had this year, the addition was we had Kelly Mace come in as our counselor for the beginning, the middle, and the end, to help us verify, clarify, and make sure all records are accurate going back into the high school for the school year, and not have any type of lagging moments that would potentially cause some students some discomfort with that transition. So that was our summer school data, but our goal this year was continuing the expectation that we understand the students had 10 months of school already. Let's make sure we understood that, and working with the staff and working with the instruction side, that we brought together a opportunity for our students to have 3 more weeks to show off their work and get that credit earned. Not, you failed or you did this, but 3 more weeks with your expert teachers to enjoy your summer and get that credit toward your graduation. For the English and for the biology programs, we've highly emphasized project-based learning. We asked them to investigate field trip activities, and this is the first one we showed off. This is actually their final of their second semester, where they went off to Badger Park and had a presentation by an expert on gardening. And then Ms. Priscellis, our biology teacher, brought them back and transitioned them into a project that was team-oriented, research-oriented, project-oriented, and presentation-oriented, with rigor and expertise from the kids presenting at the very end. Same with our library. We got them out, the English, we got them out of the classroom for a little bit over to our public library. They learned about our public library. They learned about novels. They learned about short stories, and they came back and presented to the staff. One thing that we're very pleased about this year was we spent the last couple of years really refining our Play-Doh online program. We had some lulls of students completing. We added accountability. We worked with the parents. We asked our instructor, Dr. Lancaster, and then Josh Kavanaugh from the first session, to really push them and encourage them to get done. And at the very end, a second session, we looked at our data. All our Play-Doh students earned credit they earned, and showed the accountability it took to be done in 3 weeks. We're very proud of that. So at this point, what I'd like to do is turn it over to Mr. Benamelis. He's going to talk about a really exciting approach to our math program that really looked at the national issues of getting students through math. And really, he's going to talk about his experiences the last 2 years that got us there.
Hello. When I was invited up here to talk as the teacher representation, I was very excited, first of all, because I get to talk about a spreadsheet in a little bit. And if you know, oh, well, there I am. We'll get to the spreadsheet later, I guess. We had an old method for summer school and a new method. So in the old method, we would have all of the math classes from one semester in one class. And then we'd have all of the math classes from the second semester in one class. And though it did okay, the students who were coming to us for summer school really needed a more focused session on the class that they needed. So when Dennis and Maya came in and offered to revamp it a little bit and look at it from maybe we do 2 math teachers and each of them take on a class for each of the sessions, we're like, let's try it. That sounds amazing. And it's made a huge difference. So I will show you. Anyone who knows me knows I love spreadsheets. And I like to look at the student as a whole from the data point of view, of course. And you'll see that the students who come to the summer school since the new model have done really, really well. And I like to look at it this way because I think with summer school, a lot of people think pass-fail. They think, did they pass summer school? Did they fail summer school? That's all that matters. But you'll see here, these students who came, this is one of them from the first session, pretty much all of them, except for the one student who did not take the final, improved, and improved by a lot. We'll see a student at the bottom who did not pass the class, but still increased his grade by 27% in 3 weeks. That student I actually have again this year in my class, and he is already looking a lot more prepared for passing this year than he did last year. So I am super excited to continue this trend. I think the students are going to be much more successful because learning a whole semester of math in 3 weeks is very challenging, but I think this is the right way to do it. So thank you for supporting the Math Summer School.
All right, and to finish this up and let you go on with your meeting, we added one more feature to summer school, intervention. Yes, they come in summer school, they come in from 9 to 12, but some students just need a little bit more push, a little bit more practice. And we added an after-school tutoring on Wednesdays. And I was thinking, who's going to show up to that? We're going to offer them lunch and stuff like that. The first day we had 1/3 of the students show up that thought they needed a little bit more push, and that led them to accomplishing their credit recovery throughout. So this is just a sample. Thankful to predominantly our math teachers, but biology and science also brought students in to have them come in for just a little bit of opportunity. So we left nobody at the finish line unfinished. The ones that were there in these pictures demonstrated a high commitment that they wanted to finish, and we gave them that opportunity. They got that opportunity. And of course, community building through the summer. Fridays and throughout the day, we get to meet the kids and enjoy the kids and interact with the kids. And Fridays, for 3 years in a row, we do our ice cream Fridays. The kids did give me a challenge this year. They said, come on, Perez, you got to up your game. Move from popsicles. The second week we did ice cream sandwiches, and they were happy about that. But these kids were so excited to just sit down and tell us about their experiences in the classroom during this afternoon of the Friday just before they got to go home. Our teachers came out on that day. Our staff came out, and we just talked about what our weeks were looking like and what we can do the following week to support kids. And this is an example of just more of the kids just hanging out, taking a little break, and getting back into the action of the work. We interviewed, or we asked the students to fill out a survey at the end, and this is the predominant messages they were sending us. They said they liked the collaboration. They liked the small groups. And this is what we want. Interactions with teachers. They love their interactions with teachers, walking in there, just seeing the students engaged. And of course, they loved their Friday popsicle day. On my final, I just want to thank everybody up here, everybody else on that list contributed to us putting on another successful summer school. I'm thankful for everybody, and hopefully we continue the success again in the future. All right, thank you very much.
Thank you. I do have a question for all of you, the four of you. In the spirit of continuous improvement, is there anything that you would change next year?
So Dennis and I talk a lot about that. We try to improve our systems every year as a way to ensure that we're not missing any kids that are falling through the cracks, that we have transcripts ready to go. Me not working in the district and kind of being a guest administrator, being a part of the community. I live in the community, so I love being here in the summertime, but I really do appreciate having boots on the ground at the high school. So the high school involvement, the counselor involvement, all of that has been really huge. And I think this year, the counselor involvement was key to making sure that we're not missing any kids and that we have the ability to call the families and the students that need that credit recovery and try to get them in even if they have summer plans and things like that.
Thank you.
Yes, I agree with all that, and continuous conversations and communication with the site administration on the vision of summer school. All this was built on conversations. We want to continue these conversations. We have Data Board now. We want to hear, what do we want to do? What do we want to add? What do we have at our disposal to make our experiences for our kids really, really even the next step? And we've had low conversations about potential CTE involvement. We've had other conversations about going from not just credit recovery, not just to devalidations, but is there room in our program for potential enrichment or some students who want to get ahead of the game? So those are things that are on the cusp of having conversations about. So excellent question. Thank you for asking that.
Yeah, one thing I would add, full transparency, we didn't have a middle school program. So our rising 7th and 8th graders, as much as we tried, we could not create a program where they were signing up. And so we had 2 kids sign up. And to Dr. Perez's comment, the vision for next year, we'll be able to return to the high school. We've been at the junior high for the last 2 years due to construction, is to provide a CTE wheel for our middle schoolers so they could have a week in the auto shop measuring metrics versus the English system. They could go into the culinary and make a pizza this big and make a pizza that big and learn math. So we're folding in the academics into the beautiful CTE coursework and instructors that we have. We've talked a lot about that. So that's the vision for the middle school program for next year. And I also just wanted to recognize, you brought it up real quickly, but Ms. Maya Russell Perez, but I always I just want to call you Maya. Yeah, accomplished administrator in Cotati Runner Park and does us a great favor here. Gives Dr. Perez a break, so it's a really nice partnership. And she knows these kids, right? She's a mom in the community, and so it's nice. This community, when you walk on, normally high school, summer school is not like it's kids are pissed and not, they don't want to be there. Pardon my French, but you walk there, and these folks they build a caring environment where the kids feel valued. They feel like they're getting what they need from their education. They know they're being supported, and they're not angry teenagers, right? They know they're getting the work done and that they've got the support from these people who are working extra for the summer. So I just want to recognize the community feel that I feel when I walk on that campus and walk around classrooms with y'all.
Anything you'd like to say, or Erica?
I'm usually someone that can find something that I would like improved. I think this year everyone on the team has done a wonderful job. I think next year maybe Sundays on Friday, but like ice cream Sundays. But otherwise, I was very happy, very well supported this year.
Thank you.
Good question that we certainly will talk about. I think over the years, we've had different focuses of summer school. PBL, math was a focus a few years ago of like focusing on U cubed math. And I think we could continue to look at kind of who we're selecting for summer school. This year, we really focus on students on the cusp, in that yellow, blue, low green, if we're talking about STAR scores, and really trying to push students up. I also think, and this year we did not do like a PBL showcase. I think that's something else just to make sure, as was talked about from the high school team, just to make sure that learning is fun and active so that it's something different than, even though we do just want to continue the learning that happens during the school year. So nothing in particular that comes to mind, but I think there's lots of discussions that we will have for whoever does summer school next year.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you all. Yeah, thank you. That was great. Okay, moving on to 12.1B, Healdsburg High School Designated English Language Development Curriculum. It's a discussion item.
Yeah, so no slides. We've got in your packet there a cover sheet. I'm going to just speak briefly. So our district is seeing a demographic change in the multilingual learners that we serve, and particularly at the high school. When I first started in the district, we had about 2.5 ELD teachers, so well over 100 students being served, but thankfully we've decreased the number of long-term English language learners. I think we've got, 7 right now today in your class? 7 LTELs in your 2-3 class? 7. Where, that's kind of been what we've been seeing over the last 4 years or so is very low numbers of LTELs, which is a wonderful thing. We'd like that to be nearly 0. The demographic change is that we're getting more newcomers. And I asked Principal Danhausen today for a count. We're at 19 at the high school. And Principal Odette, you're at 13, 14? Yeah. So this is new and different. And thankfully, Dr. Perez began advocating early last year and saying, we need a different kind of curriculum now. And so he and I worked together, did a search, and he piloted a couple of different things. We've made a selection. I'm going to let Dr. Perez talk a little bit about why. This curriculum is called LIFT. It's from National Geographic /Cengage. I'm most excited about it as your curriculum director because it's material that is for teenagers. You see a lot of newcomer curriculum out there that is, they take what they have for elementary students and they try to modify it a little bit for teenagers. This was built from the ground up for teenagers. So the graphics in it, the way, the stories, everything you see in there is for the teenage audience. And so you'll see really neat photography and videos. It's a rich online component as well. It's not this boring workbook stuff. So this material will serve both our long-term English learners, but also a very rich component for our teenage newcomers, which I'm really excited about. So I'll let you get into a little bit more of the specifics and then we'll open up for questions. Again, this is a first read. he's been piloting. He's got a lot of good stuff, but if we want to keep the online available to us, they've kept the pilot open for us so we can start out the school year, and we've got some consumables that the company gave us during the pilot. But in order to continue with this material, we need to make a purchase. So today is a discussion. We'd bring it back on consent in 3 weeks if that pleases the board.
Erin, can you just remind me how long a student is considered a newcomer?
Yeah, that's a good question. So we, it's a student who has been not born in the United States, generally not in a U.S. school for a year or two. So it gets a little fuzzy. It used to be less than a year. Now that we're seeing, particularly for the upper grade students, and a lot of this has to do with when can they be mainstreamed, right? When can they be exited from a more protected environment? So of the numbers that I gave you, the vast majority have been here for 1 year or less, and then we have a small handful who've been here for 2 years or less.
But that sort of designation for a student is based on assessments that are academic or other?
No, it's based on how long they've been here and not enrolled in a U.S. school. So it has a newcomer has nothing to do with any academic assessments.
I just mean like the distinction between a student being a 1 year newcomer versus a 2 year newcomer.
No, again, that's just number of years.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Right. And so to your point, we do an academic assessment, and, Superintendent Van Heuvel and I were just talking about, we've had newcomers when we do an academic assessment who are ready for calc. Right. So every newcomer is a little bit different, but we all know that their primary language is not English, and that they have language skills that they need to improve upon in academic English.
So I do have a question about SAFE kids, though, students with interrupted
SAFE,
formal
yeah,
education.
yeah.
Do they get another year of
Yes,
newcomer support?
right. So it's all about criteria. So we're modeling after the OUSD criteria for exiting. There used to be a hard, as you probably well know, right, this hard criteria of 1 year, and then you got to push them out of the nest. So we're really monitoring what is their background, what type of school, where were they being educated, how did they arrive here, were they migrating for 18 months to 2 years and completely out of school? Or are they coming from a private American school in Mexico City? So there are nuanced differences, but the term newcomer is about years. It's not about skills.
And who does the intake interviews?
It's a team approach. So we have the initial LPAC that is done by Vicki Dury. So that's done hopefully before school even begins, so we can get a read from Vicki. And then we have multiple screeners. Dr. Perez does the academic, and then we often have SB Mendoza, who's working with the family to gain some of that other information, right? What was your journey to get here? What was your schooling like? So they're working with SB in order to do kind of the intake in terms of more of the social, emotional, family background. What services did they have, where they were coming from, what's their living situation, that kind of stuff.
And then in terms of the curriculum, what other programs or how many other programs were investigated?
Yeah, I'm going to let Dr. Perez talk about that.
Thank you for the opportunity. I've been at this site for going on 4 years now. I've spent about 15 years of my career focusing on ELD and English learners and multilingual learners with the idea that we want to produce present them with the best curriculum out there. We started about a year ago, using a little bit over a year ago, looking at EL Achieve. EL Achieve came up with a lot of boom on the standards, but they were limited in their approach to the high school experience. I spent time at conferences and with their experts, working it into the pilot. And at the end, I fell short of wanting this curriculum in front of my kids because of the moving parts were challenging, difficult, and the pictures were of elementary school kindergartners. And my students said, listen, don't insult us. Remember, we come here with languages already. Please take us at our level. So I went to National Geographic, an organization I had been with before, and a group that had been dedicated to researching ELD curriculum for high schools specifically. And I asked them for two major things I needed. I needed to be able to have a comprehensive program that was very consistent from newcomers all the way up to our almost advanced, just before our FIPS students. They had a program called EDGE that they're sunsetting and introducing now LIFT. Lift is a much better product because it's a hybrid between the simultaneous online instruction with ancillaries that will support their language companionship through the lessons, their cultural experiences, their ability to see language acquisition across the board. And it did have a newcomer program, starting with not just the cultural introduction into what we call like emergency language, so they can learn language that they can use in their other classrooms right away, but they had a phonics program that will allow us to teach English from that point, where they're able to then go into early fluency to the expanding and to the bridging. And the other component that was necessary was their assessment ability and their ability to give us data and assess data. They give us all the pre-assessments for phonics all the way up to each unit. They provide us the opportunity to do Lexile scoring, and they allow us to have data after unit tests that provide us reteaching opportunities that come after the scoring, and then they produce the information that says, okay, as a result of these scores, this is what reteachable items need to be going back to go available to the students. And then at the very end, we're able to then use that data to partnership with the LPAC, partnership with the English benchmarks in our departments, and use it more comprehensively than any other curriculum that I've seen in front of us. So we've spent almost about 6 months with them, and this is the one that we chose for those reasons.
Can I layer a little? So, whenever I'm looking at curriculum, we do the big pass, right? We contact Pearson, we contact HMH, we get all the sample material. We also, Dr. Perez went to CABE. He also has been participating in the multilingual collaborative at SCO that really focused on newcomers last year. And what we found is there really was not anything besides EL Achieve and what we're adopting here that focused on newcomers at the high school level. There was bits and pieces and workbooks, but something that has, as Dr. Perez is talking, like soup to nuts, assessment, rich online videos, ongoing assessment and benchmarks that are tied to the LPAC too. So Dr. Perez he in fact is going to be presenting for the California Department of Ed about the interim assessments for LPAC, and that was a really important piece too, that it was connected. We saw lots of newcomer stuff that it was like, man, did you even look at the ELD standards? So really, to your question of what we reviewed, real quick, it went down to, can we make EL Achieve work? We'd had it for 2 years. They kept promising us richer materials for the high school grade level. We kept going to conferences with them over 2 years, and it never happened. So honestly, the choice kind of surfaced quickly with the material because of the breadth of what they've got in it. Thank you. There was a clear winner. I guess it wasn't like, oh, we're not sure. Yeah.
I just want to share one thing. Yeah. And as we talk about the partnerships on campus, it really truly is talking about the interactions with the counseling department, with the social emotional teams that we have with counselors and with our administration. We know we can't do it without all those teams in conjunction. Now, having Tate on board, who has his EL background, we are looking at a year that we can really sit down and have even more robust conversations about what's going on a regular basis, so we can take those numbers and potentially lessen or lower the numbers of students who need to take summer school and getting them through A through G and getting them RFIP'd early. It's not going to happen overnight. This is a process, and we're committed to that. So we're looking forward to the journey. We got great teams here, team members, and we're excited to be part of that. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you.
Okay, moving on to revisions to Governance Council bylaws.
That's you again, yeah.
Okay. So the revisions to the Governance Council bylaws, you'll see it's in all of the Governance Council bylaws. What we're doing here is reacting to some changes that happened in the Ed Code related to the LCAP. We're a small district, and so our governance councils serve as our LCAP advisory boards. In most other districts, there is an LCAP advisory board that is a alone thing. In a small district, that felt repetitive. It didn't feel like we'd get the information that we wanted if we did a couple of meetings with some ad hoc group. So since the beginning of LCAP, the governance councils from each school has also served as our LCAP advisory group. And we feel like we get a lot more and rich information from a wider group of parents and students and faculty because of the way we do it. So the new ed code for LCAP is that on the LCAP advisory board, at least one parent must be the parent of a student with disabilities and an active IEP. So we're changing the governance council membership that one of the parents must be a parent of a student with a disability that has an active IEP. So we make sure that we get that member from all 4 of our schools, which I think is a wonderful thing. Instead of just having one parent on an LCAP advisory board, we have 4 parents with students with disabilities. Also, in order to meet the LCAP ed code change, we wanted to make sure that there was good representation of our English learner parents, of our multilingual parents. And so we've talked about, let's make sure that the ELAC and the Governance Council have a meeting together in the spring where either Superintendent Vandenheuvel and I would go to talk about the LCAP. Sometimes it happens, most of the time it happens, but if we put it in the Governance Council bylaws, that the ELAC and the Governance Council will meet in the spring, that's holding us responsible to make sure that that joint meeting happens. So that's the other change that you're seeing in all 4 schools' governance councils. So this is not something that we're going to go back and ask the school governance councils to vote on. We're saying we're reacting to ed code here. This is how we want to make it happen in our district to make sure that we get good representation on our governance councils for students with disabilities and English language learners.
And just to clarify, the governance council is your school site
council. Site council,
Correct.
yes,
okay,
thank
so
you.
you'll
Yeah.
have equal representation of staff and
Correct. Yeah. Thanks for, yeah. So most other places, governance councils are called site councils, but we're special here in Healdsburg. Thanks for
as a former longtime governance council member, I have the question of how will parents who fit this qualification be recruited? Because we've had the issue of honestly, the governance councils, even the narrow kind of classifications that we had, or, the more broad classifications that we had weren't always full.
Right. 3 parents, 3 staff members.
Right.
There's
community members at large. And, we didn't always have like a full group there. And it does seem like there could be some challenges in kind of separating out parents, like privacy issues. And, you have to find someone who's willing to really come and advocate on behalf of their student and to speak for other students who may have disabilities or IEPs or both or whatever.
Yeah. So that's where our amazing principals come in, and you can see their faces and how happy they are about this. But really, it's about building relationships with families. And, my suggestion in the little bit of talk that we've had is it's all about building relationships, right? Families who feel like they're welcomed and that their voice matters come to the governance council. So we have opportunities in every 504, every IEP meeting to invite those families to be a part of the governance council. Of course, recruitment always happens, right? We have a hard time filling all the seats all the time. And so that's going to be on the principals to do that recruiting. The hardest thing is going to make sure that every school has a parent that is a parent of a student with disability. That's going to be the tough one, right?
That's why I'm asking about it, because I know there were times, and I don't know what the councils are like now, but where even just having enough parents on the board was a challenge.
Yeah.
And it is only, I'm just anyone who might be interested in the governing council who's listening out there, it is only 1 meeting a month. But one of the things that was a bit of a bar to governing council service was that we did use the modified Roberts Rules of Order. So the meeting has and Brown Act, like it is an official meeting. And so parent has to be comfortable coming in and kind of responding in these formal environments, which not every parent is comfortable with that.
And I'll tell you, Trustee McAllister, most other districts, what they're going to do is they're going to have one parent for the entire district on an LCAP advisory board.
I'm not, so, it's a whole other discussion to talk about the role of the governing council, which we won't do tonight because there's a lot of talking tonight. But just that I do see that as potentially being a difficulty.
That's a really good point
Sure.
because the parents have to elect the parents, right? And so if you
So what we've written is if there is not a parent with a student with disabilities who puts their hat in, and then if that parent is not elected, what the language in the bylaws is that the principal would be allowed to appoint a parent with student with disabilities. So they could say, please come, you sit on this in order to be that representative.
then you won't have equal representation on both staff and parents.
Correct. So they would also then need to get another, right? So we're so small that we don't anticipate that happening, but it's really about recruiting a parent of a student with disabilities from the very beginning. Yeah.
So what happens if you don't get a parent of that representation?
Yeah, great question, right? And that's where the CDE police come and, right? It's
Well, and
we're
to
all
her
thrown in the
point,
brig.
most districts are going to have one meeting with one parent group about the LCAP and call it their LCAP advisory council. So if we have at least one parent of a disabled child in one of the governance councils, we probably would
We've met
be
the
able
letter
to
of
check
the
the
law,
box.
but
we're trying
not.
to overshoot and be more transparent. And so.
And then to your point around English language learners, so this is not making sure that a parent of an English learner is the only one on the governance council, but there's a joint meeting between the ELAC and the governance council in the spring.
Oh, right. I understood that.
Okay.
I was just raising the issue of, the difference between kind of being at a PTO meeting where it's just a normal kind of regular
People
human
talk to each other
interaction
normally. Yeah.
versus being in the governing council is different because the governing council is more formal. And I had parents that I was talking to, like, are you interested in doing this? It's really not a very, very big commitment. And it is an opportunity to sort of, all the reasons that I thought it was a good thing to do. And people were stopped by the Roberts Rules of Order and this sort of like formality of it. And so anyway, I mean, this is
Yeah.
all, I don't
think
mean
it's
to be
good
like, I don't
for our
mean to be
principals to
negative
hear.
about it. I
Mhm.
just, this is, and also I was once elected by like 4 votes, I think, or something. So there was not a lot of participation.
Right.
And I don't know if that's changed too. This was a long time
It
ago,
hasn't.
but just that, that the way the bylaws are set up so that it is an election is theoretically really good, but adding this kind of extra piece. And I understand, the truly the need for the voice that you're talking about, but just like finding the person who is interested in that advocacy role and ready to, anyway, I hope everyone's out there listening and ready to sign up right now. And I guess if it ends up being a big problem, then we'll steer to a different.
And this is a discussion item, correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we'll bring it back on consent next month. Well, in
I
3
have
weeks.
a question. I'm trying to pull it up, but I accidentally hit the back button and the internet's not working. But
Yeah, it's not
is
cooperating
this
tonight.
is this position for the parent a separate position, or is this one of the 3?
It is one of the 3.
One of the 3. Okay.
Right. But if the principal has to appoint, to Trustee Ramos Flores,
Then we would have to do another staff member to have it
exactly,
balanced. Yeah.
to have parity.
Right.
And then just a general question: are all meetings at every site at the same time? Like
No.
I believe
No.
that the high school one's at 5. Or...
No, they're at different times.
Oh, they're
yeah.
okay. Or is that decided by the group?
It's generally decided in conjunction with the principals in the group about when the meeting's going to be. Yeah.
I just think it's like good, like when sharing with parents, like right there's this opportunity, like, and most parent will be like, "What time?"
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
What time, what day?
Yeah.
Can I actually go?
I'll say this with the principals behind me. If I were charged with this, at every IEP meeting, I'd be like, hey, we have this great opportunity for you to participate with our school. And it really is going to be a recruitment situation, I think.
Yeah. Well, I think I've been liberal with my criticism in a way that I normally am not, but I am hopeful that this setup is a setup that works. I truly believe that it's a voice that 100% that parent should be in the room talking about, concerns and ideas and all those things. I do think the logistics of the governing council are particular to that those organizations, that people kind of join up for different reasons, and that they're not primarily there to talk about LPAC goals. It's just LPAC goals is one of the things that they're charged with.
Yeah.
And so it may be that figures into who decides to step up. Because I know at the elementary level, the meetings were in the afternoon at kind of a work time, after school time.
And if anybody has any other ideas about how, we could meet this new ed code requirement, we felt like this was the best way to do it for our small district and also get as much representation as possible. So we're going to give this a whirl and hope. But if anybody has any other better ideas, we're open to that.
Just a suggestion. I'm just thinking that I know that some of our families are working specifically. There's organizations like in our county and other counties, like Marin County, and they do a lot of advocacy for families and for children. Maybe reaching out to them to see if they're working with families in our area and they'd be interested in sitting.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
I just feel like they are, listening and going to these trainings and learning more about like their rights with students and possibly like working with them to see.
Yeah, the
if
regional
they can
center.
just, share that information with the parents so that the parent
it's a great
feels
idea.
more, inclined to participate.
Great, thank you. It's a good idea.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yep. Thanks, Erin.
Okay, 12.1D, resolution number 25-01, Attendance Awareness Month. This is an action item.
We have Kevin Bain's first board presentation.
Thank you so much for the warm introduction, Superintendent Vanden Heuvel, and I appreciate all of you being here tonight. Thank you. Nationally, September is recognized as Attendance Awareness Month. And so we're seeking today your approval of this resolution to promote attendance and decrease chronic absenteeism. That's a real goal for me this year. One of the things that I was kind of charged with by Superintendent Vanden Heuvel and the interview panel. And so do you have any questions about this resolution?
Any questions?
No? All right, fantastic. Thanks so much. Appreciate it.
All right.
Thank you, Kevin.
Do we have a motion to approve?
I'll motion to approve.
Do we have a second? Okay, it's a roll call vote.
President Romo Flores.
Aye.
Trustee Potmasil. Trustee McAllister.
Aye.
Trustee Lopez Pardo.
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay, 12.1E, Healdsburg Unified School District cell phone policy.
Yes, so if you have been watching the news or reading the newspaper, cell phones in schools are the hot issue, right on the front page. And I am here just to make sure everybody understands that we are taking a hard look at this in the secondary schools. We already don't allow cell phones in the elementary schools. Actually the junior high has a very prohibitive policy as well that for the most part works fairly well. But we will be looking at both the junior high and the high school practices. Right now, the high school, if I'm not mistaken, you're not to have them out in class, but lunch and break are not monitored for cell phone use. So we, both Principal Danhausen and Ms. Odette are already talking about it with staff. And we're going to be researching other districts there's a million different ways to do it, right? So the junior high, they're supposed to be powered down and in your backpack, not on your person. We don't want to see them. A lot of schools have adopted policies like that. There are schools that have adopted policies that where they purchase yonder pouches where they can lock up the student's phone at the beginning of the day. The student has it in a pouch that they can't open. At the end of the day, they can open them. Pouches cost money. The staff time to open and close pouches cost. And so there's districts doing it, and thankfully we can talk to them and see how it's going and what the pitfalls have been. Santa Rosa is all over the front page. I know for a fact that they spent the year last year, both Santa Rosa High and Montgomery, talking about different cell phone policies and then instituted it this year. It appears to me that they have a system where kids are voluntarily turning their phones in every class, and they have caddies up at the front. And other than that, they're not supposed to see or hear them. So there's lots of different ways to do it. We're going to be investigating different ways of what works best, and we'll be engaging stakeholders. I think it'll be easy on the teacher side. Mike seems to agree. Parents as well, actually, from what we hear anecdotally throughout the state, parents seem to be on board with this for the most part as well. Student voice, will obviously be taken into consideration. and we'll go through a process where we engage everybody on what we want to do. But this will be a semester-long conversation. I anticipate. Hopefully, we could land it by the end of the semester and perhaps institute something in the winter, the spring semester. So, any questions about that? If you missed it, Governor Newsom gave us guidance.
Really?
And that was it. No funding or like how to do it part, but there was, this is an issue and we should prohibit them in school. So it seems pretty apparent, and I think most adults would agree that cell phone use for kids is not something that should be happening frequently, especially when it comes to social media and the addictive nature of cell phones and how they were created in the first place. So questions, comments?
I have very strong feelings on this
I do,
subject,
yes.
and I am being a Benedict Arnold to my children right now, who are just like, what are you? But I feel like we need to not just explore like kind of what other districts are doing in terms of policy, but to really look hard at how this policy is meant to work for the students, because I think there's a few different things that go on here that have to do with, we talk about mental health. We talk about, the main thing I want to say, I'm just going to skip ahead of myself, is that I think that kids' attention span is really suffering. I think their study skills are suffering as a result of constantly being distracted by notifications, by TikTok constantly, and I have noticed with my own kids that sort of like, we always had pretty strict electronics policies at our house. And then COVID happened when our kids were in 3rd and 4th grade, and they were in front of their computers all day long and unable to interact with their friends in the same way. And that in some ways that same mode of thinking has carried through everything that they do. And that what I think is they don't get a chance to get bored in certain situations. They don't get a chance to occupy their own minds with their thoughts. And I know, because we take our kids' phones away at night, that they will have 50 notifications at 6 o'clock in the morning. So their phones are dinging all day long. Everybody has one in their back pocket. They're getting those alerts on their watches. And as a parent that kind of tried to be retrograde about it, it's impossible. And I think I'm not even adding on because I feel like I haven't had the right conversations with teachers yet about this, but my sense, because of what I have to do at home as a parent, is that that the cell phone policy inside the classroom is very inconsistent based on what the teacher's doing, and that the kids are constantly kind of like, oh, my teacher said it was fine if I listened to music this day. And, my daughter was telling me I got an alert on my watch about something yesterday, like right in the middle of her English class. And she was sort of like thinking about the alert and telling people about it. And I just feel like all of that is really bad. It's all bad. It's toxic. It does not create a good environment for them at school. And that's not even talking about how, there's bullying situations that go on that are both in person simultaneously and on the phones firing off all day long. And so, I just feel like this all kind of, we got out over our skis on this one. Like, technology got ahead. It's so wonderful. It's so delicious. And I can't even imagine what the teachers are having to do all day to be like, put away your phones, don't do this. And then they have another responsibility, which is to constantly be monitoring them. And I know I'm talking, but I have now this situation with my kids, like when they were 4 or 5 years old, and when the house is silent, I'm just like, they're just back in their rooms on their phones, like until I go, what are you doing? Get out here, come and sit on, And so I just feel like there's been times where our kids have had their technology taken away for punishments or whatever, and they were happier within 48 hours. And they started to act more engaged and less distracted. And I just really think that it's incumbent upon us to like do more than we think we have to do in this department to create an environment where when they're at school, they are not constantly being bombarded with their technology for the benefit of just their overall growth and happiness and ability to learn to interact with one another. And, we don't know what this looks like in 10 years. Maybe everything settles out when they get older. I really don't know. But I just think like this is like a real crisis situation on a whole bunch of levels. And I will say I've had so much outreach from parents asking me to take this role to talk about it. And I just know from our house, like, it's bad. It's really bad. And we need to make it better in any way that we reasonably can. And I just think the logistics, are not in my hands, but it's.
No, but maybe I was too quick explaining it. Like, I think you have agreement from your district leadership team that we don't want kids having cell phones, using their cell phones at school, right? So it's about finding the best way to contain that use and not have it happen. And so we absolutely, for all the things you said, want to take it out of their hands when they're at school. But we also want to apply it consistently and be able to enforce it. And it's like I made a comment in district leadership team. I remember being a teacher, and the gum rule is always the joke, right, at a school, because like you said, this teacher lets gum, this teacher doesn't. And so then you end up with gum on seats. And when rules are not consistently applied, they're not rules anymore. And so for us, it will be about that consistency and finding something that doesn't become overly burdensome for teachers. I think that's something that's come across through the media too, is we don't want to put the policy and the enforcement of it on the backs of the teachers. We want something that can be enforced, that takes kids' cell phones out of their hands during the school day.
I guess I wonder, is it already on the teachers' backs? Like, it's on my back as a parent constantly to be like, what are you doing? What are you doing? Get off your phone.
Right now.
And so I'm assuming that teachers are taking on that role to some degree throughout the day, regardless of what the policy is.
But it's finding that balance, right?
Right.
So, yeah. So those are our guiding principles. We're in agreement. 100% it's important and we want to do it. And we were going to pursue it anyway, and then it blows up in the news anyway. So, but yeah, you will hear lots more about it over the next few months. So,
I would just like to comment. I agree, Rose.
Yes, Mike.
Yeah,
I was going to say adults' attention spans have suffered as well as kids, right? Like yeah.
No, and I think, Chris, you said it. It's about using the phone at school, not having the phone at school, because I think that has been some of the hesitancy with some parents who might share custody of their children, and so they go back and forth from parents and communicating. How do I communicate with them? Safety, I know, has been a conversation for many parents and many students as well, but it's more about using the phone during class, in the middle of class, in spaces where they're not.
Even at lunch and break, not using the phone.
Yeah,
so,
right.
and I will say, like, parents, all our kids have Chromebooks. They could communicate via email with their parents very quickly. And we did decades of school when I was in it without cell phones, and we communicated just fine, right? I know things have changed, but we have phones in the school, and we can always say, get your phone out. You can call your parent because there's an emergency, and we understand. So there's ways around the communication issues, but we'll work through it all and make sure everybody has a chance to voice their concerns. Kids are not on our Wi-Fi. Yeah. So only our Chromebooks are on the Wi-Fi. We don't put student devices on that are private. So yeah.
I feel like I really would love to see us take just take a firm stand on it. And also, like I said at the beginning, to just really vet like why we're doing it. Because one of the things that my kids have brought up in conversations about a new policy is the idea that they need to have a place where they can communicate with their parents. And I think this sort of touches on what you were saying. Even if it's not logistical, sometimes it's emotional during the day. They're used to being in constant contact, and they use their phone as a way of getting support and guidance throughout the day as well. And that part, they did say, like, they were kind of like, we need a private place where we can go and call you if we have to, and like talk about whatever we need to talk about. And I feel like that is looking ahead to like, what are the uses of the phone during the day? Because not all of them are entertainment, and not all of them are bad.
Right.
And we want to be respectful of the students' needs and privacy and all that stuff as well, but begin to kind of like wean off of just this constant everything. It's not.
Instead of some will view as a punishment or taking something away, but I think it's really a matter of bringing something, allowing students to be themselves. And I guess what I'm saying is to take that approach, but we're taking taking your phone away. It's not about the phone, it's about you growing and being a mature person. And so and I know you know this, I'm just saying it for me, I guess. is to make sure, but we go in with a positive attitude. We're doing this for the good, your good, not because we think phones are bad. I mean, phones are great if I ever learn how to use them. But I think that that's the whole point is not that they've done bad, I guess, but what we want for you in our schools is for you to be the best you. And right now that means perhaps not having your phone all the time. And I'll let you deal with that.
We can
Good
build
luck.
the case, right? I mean, like there's documentaries about how the apps that they use were actually designed to addict them. So, you know, it's like having a drug in your pocket. So we can talk more about it as it goes, but yep. Thank you.
Oh, can I just add one more thing, Chris? I do really want the principals to be involved and kind of students too, actually. I don't know how we do it, but I would love to hear from students and really try to consider this with, you know, a lot of gravity because I think, you know.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, moving on to reports. Do we have a HADA report tonight?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, pre-COVID, we had it.
The light will be on if it's on. Yeah.
Pre-COVID, we had it figured out. And we asked them not to use their phones. If it was monitored, it worked great. So it took, you know, a couple weeks at the beginning of the school year, but eventually the students had their backpack. They didn't use in the hallways. I think that's the direction that we've been discussing with leadership. It can work. I have parents also. My kids go in the room. I understand.
And it doesn't get better, Rose, as they get older, honestly. Yeah, so we're with you.
Anyhow, there's change. I'm
Mike.
We also have a new vice president. Here's Josh Kavanaugh, who will be our vice president. Our treasurer will remain Matthew Ellis, and our secretary is from Healdsburg. I just wanted to let you know because Laurel pointed out, I don't even know your new Healdsburg had a exam. So looking forward to, we need to finish up our negotiations for what we started last year, and we have a full contract negotiation this year. So do. The whole board.
Thank you, Mike.
Thanks, Mike.
Okay, do we have a CSEA report?
We do not.
Okay. Board of Trustees, do they have a report? Okay. All right, moving on to school business.
Yeah, principals, you can scoot out. Thank you for staying.
Wait,
yeah.
I have a question for you. No, I'm just kidding. Thank you all. Thank you. Okay, so school business, 12.2A, Resolution 25-02 regarding the sale and disposal of surplus materials. This is an action item. Good evening.
Is your mic on?
All the items are
There it
attached
is.
to the resolution. One of them being the old blue Yukon that you've been seeing for many years that we are surplusing and donating to the auto shop.
Nice.
Is there any questions?
I just have a quick question. What do we do with the 5,000 books?
They have been given to a charity that will be giving them to developing nations.
Do we offer them in any way to our own kids? We've got these books, we're having a book giveaway, take these home. And I don't know, I mean, some titles would make sense.
We are not doing that with this. We do book giveaway throughout the year. These are quite old, and so it's Catholic Charities is actually taking them and distribute them on behalf. So it's
and I'll say,
yeah.
our librarian could speak to this as well, but quickly, we don't have 5,000 books we're giving away. This is an inventory that was done 20 years worth. And
Okay.
so there's not literally 5,000 books. Some were lost. When we merged the schools, all the books from both FMC and HES got into one database. So Greta did, with a lot of help, some Herculean effort and literally scanned every single book in her library so we know what's there and what's not. So there's not truly 5,000 books that are going. Most of the books, and again, Greta, I think you can shake your head, are not something we'd want to put in our students' hands. They're dirty, they're old, they're
outdated.
No, I get that. Okay.
Yeah.
But the list that I wrote it down somewhere, 35 pages or something or 35 in a page and 150 pages.
Yeah.
All those, some of those don't exist.
Correct.
We're declaring them surplus, but they're missing.
Right. They were either lost, they were lost over a 20-year period, or they're in the FMC
we're erasing
collection.
it off our books.
Okay, I got it. Okay, thank you.
We have to release them off our books.
Yeah.
I see. Thank you.
Otherwise, they still exist, even though they don't. Yeah.
It's catch up.
Yeah.
Catch up.
Any other questions?
Abstract inventory is what we call it. Yeah.
Like your band name.
I'll move that we approve Resolution 2502.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
And this is a roll call vote.
President Romo Flores.
Aye.
Trustee Potmusel. Trustee McAllister. Trustee Lopez Pardo.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, 12.3 personnel. New job description of early college credit coordinator. Discussion.
Good evening.
Good evening.
All right. Well, Erin's going to come up with me because she can explain this just a little better than I can. But we are bringing you a first reading of a job description called Early College Credit Coordinator. And if you, I don't know if you remember, but one of the items on consent was a grant that you accepted for the Early College Credit Grant. And so that grant will pay for this this position that we are hoping to approve and fill. So this would be a 2-year position for a position we would like to fill at the high school. And so I'm going to have Erin explain it because she can definitely explain it better than me.
That was a good setup. So it's a $100,000 grant over 2 years. This is from the California Department of Ed. It was a semi-competitive grant, right? We needed to do a little bit. Early college credit's super important, but there is an opportunity gap, particularly for our low-income kids, multilingual learners. Enrolling in the SRJC or other early college credit, there are online programs. BYU being one of the most common, they're challenging, and I'll tell you that as the parent of a newly minted freshman in high school, who's going to be who's going to be taking ASL at the junior college. So with 2 educator parents, just watching this process, it's tough and it's hard to know what can I take, right? What classes are out there? When do they meet? What's asynchronous? What's synchronous? How do I get there? So this position would be 10 to 15 hours a week to serve both the Marcy Becerra Academy and Healdsburg High School students. Marcy Becerra has a fairly robust program of enrolling our students at the SRJC, and particularly with the work-based, the work experience program that Jamie Kiff leads as her side hustle. But knowing what opportunities, getting through, and then also being a liaison between those entities, the schools, the parents, and the student to make sure that they successfully complete. So I'm super excited about this. They'll be doing presentations in our classes and be there to hold the hand of the families and really make sure that everybody knows about the opportunity to earn college credit while they're still in high school.
And Erin, remind me because my Wi-Fi is not working.
Yeah.
Is this position, does it require bilingual candidates?
It's preferred but not required. Yeah, they'll mostly be working with students, but we also, as the job description, be doing parent forums, and we feel confident we can provide the interpretation services on those accounts, especially with the number of parent liaisons the bilingual parent liaisons would be working closely too. So we will search for that, but it's not a requirement of the job.
Aaron, my question I have here is, what are the courses? What are our courses or the JC courses, or I guess I'm not.
Yeah, it could be anything, really. I'll tell you what's most typical is English, ASL, PE units, dance. So courses that we may not provide. We've had students take welding. They may be in our auto shop and they want to continue. Students they really can take just about any class they want.
At the JC or wherever?
Or, online or otherwise.
Online,
But the lack of information and knowing how to fight through that bureaucracy as a high school student is really challenging. So there are some typical courses, but we hope that this is going to really expand the breadth of coursework that students could take. Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
Okay,
And
sounds good to me.
The assumption that it's a temporary position since we only
It
have
is,
funding for
since it's
2 years.
categorically funded.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right, categorical temporary for 2 years.
And I just would like to comment because I really hesitated when it was just bilingual desired instead of as required. But I really thought about, we do have a new bilingual student and family services coordinator in MBA now for that's dedicated to MBA, and because of SB being at the high school and this being a part-time position, we're looking at it being about 10 to 15 hours a week. And the difficulty of filling some of the part-time positions, I really felt like having it being highly desired would be a little easier than if it was a required position. So that was my thinking around having it not being a required bilingual. So since we have so much support now with our staffing. Yeah.
And that this is a 2-year position, do you see this position developing the connections, the contacts? So ultimately, perhaps our counseling staff or whomever, should this position go away, that they would be able to pick it up and run with it, as opposed to saying, oh, that person's gone, I guess it's over about that.
Yeah, right now the counselors, and particularly Ever Flores, because he has got such a great relationship with SRJC, they're doing this work already. But it's the students who are honestly, they're searching for it. Their parents know it's available. This position is really to better serve students who may not even know these opportunities exist. I'll be honest with you.
It's a lot more outreach. Yeah.
I hope that in 2 years we can find the money to keep this, right? Because I think it's really important, and I don't know that our counselors can do it without these additional hours and support and honestly expertise, right? Navigating the SRJC systems and all these other computer programs, they change and what the requirements are. It's a lot to ask of our counselors. So I would hope that maybe, we'll see if it works out, if it's great,
I'm really
no
hoping we can
promises,
find
but-
somebody bilingual, just because we
Agreed.
don't have, yes, we have a family engagement facilitator shared at both sites, elementary and Fitch Mountain, right?
The elementaries are shared, yeah.
Elementaries are shared, but junior
there's-
high school, and MBA. So we now have 3 full-time
In secondary.
for roughly 800 students.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yes, but they're also very busy. And,
Agreed.
Because, and we want them to be busy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is
I think-
another layer.
Yeah, we will search out bilingual, but we don't want it to be where we can't hire for it. We're already late in the season.
Mhm.
It would have been nice if the CDE would have let us know earlier that we got this
Yeah.
grant.
Well, congratulations on
Yeah.
getting it for
Yeah,
us.
thanks.
Thank you.
Yeah, I want to second Araceli's point. I think, the duties and responsibility does say determine barriers preventing underrepresented student population, which that is a huge portion of our students in Healdsburg. So I agree. I think if we can seek someone bilingual, it would be better. It would alleviate SB and our new parent liaison at MBA as well from some of these duties. College applications take a really long time, and so and parents have a lot of questions always, and I think we know that from our events that we have when we have students applying for college and cash aid. And
So let me be clear. This isn't to apply for a 4-year university. and
Totally,
ongoing,
yeah.
Right?
No,
It's
yeah.
just early college credit while they're still a high school student.
Totally, and I understand, but there's a lot of outreach that goes into providing information for parents and for students and for them to understand, right? There's this barrier between the opportunities that students have and what they actually go for. And so a lot of outreach is going to happen in order for this to be successful, in order for you to get the students to go to college and take college credit classes before they graduate high school. So I think in that, you have to be able to have conversations with parents as to why it's beneficial for students to be taking college credit classes so early on and not waiting till after high school.
Another component of this, for example, we hosted SRJC ASL instructor on our campus last year. It didn't go great because we didn't have somebody like this to help the families understand there's a different learning management system. They're treated as adults. You can't call up the professor and say, what's my kid's grade, right? They're being treated as college students, so that's another part of this and we would hope that we could host some SRJC courses on our campus as well.
Yeah, this seems like a really important piece. Cool.
Just quick, when does the JC start? Has it already started?
It started.
It has?
Yeah, there's some classes that started this week, some that'll start in September.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, it's late. So really, hopefully we can get this person hired quickly. And at this stage in the game, there are courses that start, in the middle of the year. SRJC, you can enroll in the middle of the year. There are 3 credit courses. So again, that not all families understand. You can take an SRJC course at all different kinds of the year through the summer. So we're a little late. It would have been nice to have this person on board back in August, early August, but just the way the grant came in, timing wasn't good.
But thank you for getting this. Appreciate it.
Okay, thank you.
So we would like to bring this back at the September meeting for approval, if that's okay.
Yeah, I would just, I don't know if it says highly preferred, but
Okay.
I really want it to be emphasized that we really need somebody that's bilingual.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. I'll make a note of that.
Yeah. Okay, thank you so much. 12.3 B, Teaching Assignment Monitoring Outcomes Report.
Are you starting this or am I starting? I think you're starting.
Yeah, I'll start this one. This is a team where we bleed. So the LCAP that was approved, and SCO is working on approving it right now. The California Department of Ed provides data as part of the local indicators, and one of those pieces of data goes to teacher credentialing and highly qualified teachers. The CDE did not have that data prepared in time for all the districts in the entire state in order to put it into our LCAP. So the data that is in the document here that Karen has for you normally would have been part of the LCAP procedures, but CDE didn't get it done. And so we got an email a couple weeks ago saying because they didn't get it done that we needed to have a special, not a special board meeting, but you all needed to review this data and be made aware of it in a separate time. So that's what we're doing here. I'm going to let Karen speak a little bit to the differences and some of the data, and then if you guys have any questions. So I understand this is data you would normally see in the LCAP. There's a weird thing with the CDE. And
why wasn't the SARC information counted? I don't understand. Because you have to have this information in our SARCs.
Right. SARC is the year before, so this was current year.
Not for staffing. 22, 23.
Right. Oh, right. 22, 23. I have no idea. Yeah. I'd be happy to forward you the email I got from the CDE telling me we had to do this.
All right. So if you've had a chance to look over this chart, you'll see that some of the data shows, it'll show our FTE. Overall, it shows in 22-23, our unified FTE is, let's see, 91.3% is clear. They all have clear credential, okay? But you'll see that some of them are out of field, ineffective, incomplete, unknown. And that is what's confusing, I'm sure, to you.
Let's just say we did not choose the language that is used on this document. Nor
Yes.
do we condone it.
And so
but
what's frustrating is the definition of ineffective. So if you look at the definition of ineffective, is some of the permits that we have to assign some of our teachers that are working maybe towards a credential or have moved from out of state who had a credential maybe in Washington, like our new culinary arts teacher who had a credential in Washington and is now here in California, is on a waiver, a variable term waiver, but his credential his assignment would be considered ineffective. So, and someone like, I'll give you another example, one of our teachers that was in 5th grade and is now in 6th grade, he is on a waiver and would be considered out of field right now because he's working towards getting, a single subject.
Single subject, math.
But he's still okay to be in the classroom that he's in. Everything is okay, but that's what it's labeled as. So
it's unfortunate that the label actually seems to reflect on performance when it doesn't. Right? So we actually have highly effective teachers who are in process of getting their credential that the state has labeled as ineffective, and it's honestly just a travesty. So yeah.
And you'll notice, like for Marcy Becerra, that the percentages are higher, and that's because they have a credential in one subject, and because they teach multiple subjects, there's only so many subjects, so they have a larger number that they'll be out of field. So I just wanted to explain that to you. I'm sorry I don't always explain things as great as maybe Mr. Vanden Heuvel does, but
I'm trying to not go back in my life, but if a person had, and I don't know what the credentials are anymore because they've changed 5 times since I left, but has a elementary credential that allows that person to teach any subject.
No, it allows you to teach multiple subjects through 9th grade. So if you only teach one subject in a junior high setting, it's not multiple, and you need a single subject credential. That's your catch.
It's departmentalized.
Yeah.
So
I understand.
If this particular 6th grade teacher was teaching
You're not wrong in your
a
sentiment.
self-contained class,
Yeah.
right? Every single subject in 6th grade, he'd be considered all good to go.
I got that.
With the same group of kids.
But because he's only teaching one subject.
But if the person was teaching, say, math, science, would that be?
Correct. If we chord it that way, then and
Okay.
he did the same. He did 2 subjects for the same
But if
kids.
a single, he has to have a second.
Correct.
Okay, they're wrong, but okay.
And the other part of this is we're in like a historical teacher shortage still, and so there are a lot of people in process in credential programs that are rendered.
But they're in program.
Exactly. Yeah.
So I also just need to make a note that I don't have the exact numbers, but maybe 3 years ago, SCO had given out, I know I'm off, but maybe 5 permits, and now they're up to like 95 to 100. I mean, probably a lot more. I mean, I know I'm not giving you accurate, but it's
Especially in the special ed
exponentially more than, yeah.
But the good news is that the people that are in an ineffective, not an ineffective position, but with an ineffective credential, because the state, we'll get into all that, they're all working toward getting that single subject or the subject they need, the
Yes.
credential rather that they need.
They wouldn't be in the classroom unless they were in a program, working
Working
towards
toward that.
something. Yeah. And most of them are there. They just have one little.
Or there's a weird reciprocity issue from another state's
Yes.
credential, right? Like that stuff comes up too.
Yes.
those. Yes.
Probably highly effective if we were to use the definition in the normal sense.
Yes.
Correct.
Yes, exactly.
100%. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, well, thank you
Thank
for
you.
your time
Thank
and
you.
explanation.
Hopefully the CDA doesn't watch our presentation.
Hopefully they do.
Maybe they do, yeah.
Hopefully they do.
We know who to call.
Okay, so next we have 13 Board of Trustee reports, comments, requests for information. Anybody have anything? No? I do. I would like to, again, in the spirit of continuous improvement, I would like to know how it's going with having parents sign up using Aries. register with Aries because I think a lot of our families, is what I'm hearing, is that it's been very difficult for them. And so I'd like to assess like how that really has gone and how we can improve that process, how we can be more supportive of our community that is struggling with, they don't have emails, for example, and we set them up with emails, but they still don't know how to access Aries. So, in the spirit of continuous improvement, how can we improve our system so that we're more supportive, so that Aries is actually meeting its purpose with our parent portal. So I'd really like to have a presentation with that information.
We can definitely work on that. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you, Araceli.
All right. Okay. Well, it is 8:12. Do we need to reconvene to close session?
Covered it all unless you want to talk more. It's up to you.
Closing the meeting. Thank you.